Look closely at your life. How many times have you promised yourself things would change, only to find yourself back in the same place weeks later? Different faces, different details, but underneath, the same cycle, repeating. This is not coincidence. This is collapse. The field is obeying the frequency you keep sending. And here is the truth you need to hear. The cycle doesn't end with time. It ends the moment you shift coherence. And that shift can happen now. Everywhere you look in your life, you can see it. Patterns that repeat themselves with uncanny precision. Relationships that end in the same way, no matter how different the person. Opportunities that dissolve before they can take root, even when everything seemed aligned. Habits you swore you'd break, only to return to them again and again. At first you call it coincidence, then bad luck. Eventually you accept it as fate. But the truth is sharper. None of it is random. It is the cycle. Cycles are not accidents. They are the visible proof of invisible frequencies. Each thought you repeat, each emotion you replay, each action you perform unconsciously, all of it is a broadcast. And the quantum field responds to broadcasts with absolute precision. You are not cursed. You are not being punished. The field is simply obeying the signals you send. Neuroscience confirms this. Studies show that more than 90% of your thoughts today are identical to those of yesterday, which means that most of what you call the future is actually just the past, recycled and collapsed into the present again. The brain builds grooves, pathways of repetition, and the nervous system follows them faithfully. Spirit has always described the same truth in different words: karma, samsara, maya, cycles of illusion, where you mistake repetition for life. Pause and think about this for a moment. How much of your life is truly new? How many days feel alive, unpredictable, expansive, and how many feel like reruns of the same story, slightly edited but never rewritten? If you are honest, you will see the pattern everywhere. You wake up, think the same first thoughts, feel the same emotions, make the same choices, and wonder why your life never changes. This is why time doesn't heal. This is why waiting never works. Because waiting itself is part of the cycle. If you broadcast delay, the field mirrors delay. If you broadcast fear, it mirrors fear. If you broadcast hesitation, it mirrors hesitation. The field is not against you. It is simply loyal to your signal. Spirit has always warned of this. Mystics spoke of people who die before they ever live, trapped in endless repetition. Shamans describe the dreamers who wander in circles, mistaking the loop for reality. Even psychology says the same. Unless a pattern is broken consciously, the subconscious will recreate it endlessly, no matter how much you claim to want change. So, here is the uncomfortable truth. Your future looks like your past because you keep broadcasting your past into the present. You don't collapse a new reality because you never send a new signal. The cycle doesn't end because you never disrupt it. And yet, the paradox is this. The cycle is not permanent. It can be broken at any moment. Because collapse is immediate. The field doesn't require time. It requires coherence. The moment you shift your frequency, even for seconds, the cycle weakens. The moment you hold coherence long enough, the cycle dies. But why then, if it's this simple, do most people stay trapped their whole lives? Why do they recycle the same relationships, the same failures, the same emptiness, even after seeing the pattern clearly? And this brings us to the real problem, the hidden error. People see the loop, they even recognize the frequency behind it, but they mistake recognition for freedom. They believe that seeing the cage is the same as walking out of it, but it isn't. Awareness without coherence changes nothing. If the cycle is so obvious once you see it, why do most people remain trapped in it? Why do they keep repeating the same story even after they've recognized the pattern? Because they fall into the same error. They confuse awareness with liberation. The moment someone notices the loop, they feel relief. They say to themselves, "At least now I see it. That means I'm free." But the field doesn't respond to what you see. It responds to what you broadcast. And recognition alone does not change the signal. Think about it. How many times have you realized you were repeating yourself? The same argument, the same mistake, the same choice. And yet, days later, you found yourself collapsing into it again. Awareness gave you clarity, but clarity is not collapse. Unless you shift the broadcast, the field will mirror the same outcome. Quantum physics explains this with precision. A wave of probability remains open until observation collapses it. But if your observation doesn't shift, if you keep embodying the same emotions and identity, then the same wave collapses again. Spirit has always said it in simpler words. Illusions don't vanish because you name them. They vanish when you stop feeding them. The nervous system makes this error worse. Your body is addicted to the chemistry of repetition. Fear, doubt, scarcity, they may feel painful, but they also feel familiar. And the body craves the familiar more than it craves freedom. That's why you return to the mask, to the loop, to the comfort of what you already know. So the error is this. People believe that time and recognition will dissolve the cycle for them. But time doesn't change frequency. Awareness doesn't collapse reality. Only coherence does. Ask yourself, how many years have you already lost to this error? How many moments of clarity faded into nothing because you didn't embody them? How many times have you promised yourself things would change just because you saw, only to collapse the same story again? This is why the cycle feels endless. Not because it cannot be broken, but because you confuse noticing it with ending it. The mask doesn't burn because you recognize it. It burns because you feed the fire until nothing false remains. You've seen the truth. Recognition alone doesn't break the cycle. Awareness without coherence is just another loop. The question now is, what actually ends the cycle? How do you collapse a different reality instead of repeating the same one? The answer is both simple and demanding. You must shift your broadcast. Not once, not in theory, but in practice, with your mind, your body, and your identity. This is the method. Step 1. Interrupt the pattern. The cycle lives in repetition. The moment you wake up, your brain begins replaying yesterday. The same thoughts, the same emotions, the same actions. More than 90% of today is already decided by the memory of yesterday. To break the cycle, you must interrupt it. Even small disruptions tell the brain, we are not repeating. Wake up differently. Move your body before checking your phone. Breathe before reacting to the first stress of the day. Neuroscience calls this neuroplasticity, the ability of the brain to create new pathways when old ones are disrupted. Spirit calls it initiation, the act of stepping off the old path into the unknown. Both are describing the same thing. The mask cracks the moment you refuse to perform it. Ask yourself, what is one behavior you repeat every day that belongs to the cycle? That's where the break must begin. Step 2. Reprogram the emotional body, but the cycle is not just mental. It is emotional. The body is addicted to the chemistry of the loop. Fear, shame, scarcity, doubt. These may feel heavy, but they also feel familiar. And the nervous system prefers familiar pain over unfamiliar freedom. That's why change feels impossible, because the body craves what it already knows. To break the cycle, you must reprogram the emotional body. Breath is the bridge. Breath changes chemistry. Breath creates coherence between heart and brain. Studies from the HeartMath Institute show that coherent breathing aligns the nervous system and produces measurable electromagnetic signals that extend beyond the body. And the field mirrors them instantly. Spirit says the same in its own language. Yogis spoke of prana, life force carried in breath. Mystics called it spirit, the fire of God inside every inhale. Shamans called it wind, the invisible force that carries life between worlds. All pointing to the same truth. Breath rewrites the body's broadcast. So when fear rises, breathe into it. When hesitation appears, slow down and align your breath. In 7 seconds, the signal shifts. Step 3. Embody a new identity. Now, even with pattern breaks and emotional coherence, the cycle waits. It survives through identity. Every day, you unconsciously wake up as the same self. The one who doubts, the one who hesitates, the one who repeats. And the field collapses that identity again and again. To break the cycle, you must choose a new identity. Now, not tomorrow, not later. Now. Quantum mechanics calls this the observer effect. The state of the observer defines the collapse. Spirit says it differently. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Both mean the same. If you embody the old self, you collapse the old story. If you embody the new, you collapse the new. Identity is not discovered. It is chosen. And once chosen, it must be embodied in every word, every breath, every action. This is why mystics spoke of living as if. They didn't wait for evidence. They lived truth before proof appeared. And reality had no choice but to align. Ask yourself, who would you be without the cycle? What choices would you make? What words would you speak? That is the self you must embody now. Step 4. Anchor with ritual, but identity fades if it isn't anchored. The subconscious mind does not change with ideas alone. It changes with repetition, with symbols, with ritual. This is why every tradition used ceremonies, mantras, sacred fires. Ritual speaks to the subconscious in the only language it truly understands. To burn the cycle, create your ritual. Write down the patterns you refuse to repeat and burn the paper. Stand before a mirror and declare your identity each morning. Anchor yourself with a gesture, a word, or a practice that seals your new frequency. Without ritual, the old story sneaks back in. With ritual, the new identity becomes permanent. Step 5. Sustain the new collapse. Reality doesn't collapse once. It collapses continuously. Every thought, every breath, every moment is collapse, which means ending the cycle is not about one breakthrough. It is about sustaining the new broadcast long enough for the old to dissolve completely. Neuroscience calls this reinforcement. Neurons that fire together wire together. Spirit calls it purification, the fire that burns until only truth remains. Both describe the same truth. Repetition of authenticity kills repetition of illusion. Most people fail here. They expect one ritual, one spark, one moment of clarity to erase decades of cycles. But collapse doesn't work that way. You must sustain the fire until the mask is ash and only coherence remains. The method in one breath: disrupt the pattern. Reprogram the emotional body. Embody the new identity now. Anchor with ritual. Sustain the collapse until nothing false survives. Science calls it neuroplasticity and coherence. Spirit calls it rebirth and initiation. Both are describing the same thing. Ending the cycle is not a future event. It is a present decision, repeated until eternity bends. And the question that remains is this: if the cycle ends the moment you stop repeating it, how much longer will you keep collapsing the old instead of embodying the new? If the cycle can end the moment you stop repeating it, why are you still inside it? Why does tomorrow always look so much like yesterday? The truth is simple: because every second you hesitate, you collapse the old story again. The field does not pause. It doesn't wait for you to be ready. It mirrors exactly what you are broadcasting right now. This means hesitation is not neutral. Waiting is not silence. Every delay is a choice. Every repetition is a command. And reality obeys without mercy. Think of your own life. How many chances have you lost because you repeated the same hesitation, the same fear, the same mask? How many relationships collapsed into the same ending, not because destiny willed it, but because you kept broadcasting the same signal? How many dreams died not because they were impossible, but because you recycled the same doubt that killed them before? This is why cycles feel so unbreakable. Not because they are strong, but because you keep feeding them. The field is loyal. It keeps reflecting whatever you embody. And if what you embody is repetition, then repetition becomes reality. But here is the paradox. The very law that traps you is the one that frees you. Collapse doesn't wait years. It doesn't need decades. It responds instantly, which means the cycle can end in the same way it was created, through repetition. Only this time, it's the repetition of truth. The repetition of coherence. The repetition of authenticity. Ask yourself, how much longer are you willing to rehearse the old story? How many more days will you spend collapsing a version of you that doesn't even feel alive? How many futures will you bury under the weight of hesitation before you decide enough is enough? The field is waiting. The signal is ready. The only missing piece is your choice. And choice is not abstract. It's not something you prepare for endlessly. It's something you collapse now, in this moment, with every breath, every word, every action. Every second is fire. Every second is choice. And if you do not choose, the past chooses for you. The cycle has already cracked. You've seen it. You've felt it. The recognition was not random. The universe aligned you with this moment so that you could no longer pretend you don't see the loop. The weight you carry is not destiny. It is repetition. And now you know that every breath, every thought, every choice is collapse. The only question left is, will you collapse the old story again, or will you finally collapse something new? If you walk away from this moment without sealing it, the cycle will try to rebuild. It always does. The mind will whisper, tomorrow will be different, but tomorrow is nothing more than today repeated, unless you act now. That is why this is not just another video. It is a signal, a chance to anchor the fire, to refuse the old collapse, to end the cycle here and now. So, how do you seal it? You declare it. You align with it. You act inside it first, declare it. In the comments, write one word, ended. That word is not for me. It is not for the algorithm. It is for you. It is for the field. It is a seal, a signal that says the cycle has ended. I am not repeating. I am rewriting. Every person who writes it is not just typing. They are collapsing a new reality into form. Second, subscribe. And don't treat it as a button. Treat it as alignment. Each time you return here, each time you connect with these transmissions, you reinforce the new broadcast. You remind the field that you are not alone in ending the cycle. You are part of a current, a signal stronger than hesitation. If you drift away, the noise of the old story can creep back. But if you stay aligned, the fire keeps burning until the cycle has no power left. Pause for a moment and imagine this clearly, the cycle dissolving behind you, timelines of repetition collapsing into ash, and ahead of you, new probabilities opening. Different choices, different futures, a story that is finally yours. That vision is not fantasy. It is physics. The observer collapses reality, and you are the observer. The universe has already chosen you for this moment. That's why you are here. Now choose back. Write your word. Subscribe to the signal. End the cycle. Rewrite your reality now.